It was one of those days, where everything goes wrong and you just want to get home, crawl into bed, and disappear from the world until things settle down again. Unfortunately, that's exactly what I'd planned to do. So I hurried through the front door, fumbled with my keys, and slipped inside. My apartment was silent. That's what I expected. But as I kicked off my shoes by the door, I caught a faint whiff of another person in my apartment. I paused. Did I imagine that? The front door was closed and locked. I lived alone. Nobody was supposed to be here. I shrugged off the thought and headed toward the kitchen to make myself a cup of tea. Maybe I had just been standing by the door long enough to pick up some random scents from the outside. But then I heard it again, a low hum coming from the living room. A shiver ran down my spine. I strained to listen. Was it the refrigerator? No, that was definitely a person. Someone was in my apartment, and I hadn't heard them come in. My heart started to pound. Adrenaline surged through me, bringing with it an immediate and primal urge to run, to scream, to do anything except stand there frozen like a deer in the headlights. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. I couldn't just call the police. They'd ask me a million questions about forced entry and how I knew the intruder was in there and why I didn't call sooner. And what would I even say? I don't know, officer. There was a man in my apartment and now he's gone. You can probably find him right over there behind the couch sipping my tea. I need a plan B, and that's when I saw it. The end of a leather belt peeking out from behind the heavy curtains that hid my small window. If this guy had managed to climb in, he could very well be hiding behind those curtains. I grabbed the nearest thing to me, a wooden spoon, and crept toward the living room, keeping low to avoid making a sound. And then I saw him. He was sitting on my couch. He was casually watching TV. My blood ran cold. How did he get in? Why was he here? And how did he know which TV show I liked? I continued to stare at him, frozen to the spot. He looked up, saw me, smiled, and calmly said, "Hey there, welcome home." Sorry, was I supposed to hide? He gestured to the television with a remote control in his hand. Do you mind if I watch this till the end? It's a really good episode. He was so calm, so casual, like he wasn't a complete stranger who had broken into my home uninvited and made himself comfortable. Like he didn't just invade my personal space and make me feel violated. Like he wasn't the reason I was now contemplating calling the police. Or maybe he was having second thoughts about his life choices and decided that robbing a house wasn't actually what he wanted to do, which meant I had less than a minute to formulate a plan before he changed his mind. I wanted to scream, to make a run for the door, to call for help, but I couldn't. I was transfixed by the sight before me. It felt like minutes, but it was probably only a few seconds. Finally, I found my voice. "Who are you? How did you get in here? What do you want?" He turned the TV down and gave me a sheepish grin. "Your door was unlocked. I saw your light on and I just walked in. Don't worry, I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to stay a while." He stood up and walked toward me, holding out his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm sorry if I scared you. I really didn't mean to." His voice was soft, almost a whisper. I stared back, still clutching the wooden spoon like it was a medieval weapon. I knew that look, that disarming smile, the way he held his hands. He wasn't a threat. He was harmless. I could tell. I don't know how, but I just knew, so I put the spoon down, surprised at my own lack of reaction. He let out a breath I hadn't noticed he'd been holding, and for a moment, the only sound in the room was the hum of the television. Then he turned and walked toward the door. "Well, then I'll leave you to it." "Thanks for the hospitality," he said over his shoulder, "and try not to let strangers in your home again." He opened the door and stepped out into the hallway, leaving me in the sudden, stark silence of my own company. As I stood there staring at the closed door, I realized some encounters remind us that the line between safety and danger is thinner than we think.